Welcome back to the Book Breathing Bitch Queens podcast. I'm Allie.
And I'm Sam, and we're here to talk all things Maasverse.
This week we're talking about chapter 4, which starts with Tamlin entering the cottage and screwing everything up. And we do really talk for extensively about every little nook and cranny of that conversation and all the things that happen and the dynamics. So let's go.
Okay, but I have a question. I have a starter question, and it's
Okay.
not a wed bed behead, but
Okay.
I want to know, and I feel like there's got to be quizzes for this, but I want to know what court you would choose. What
Oh.
court do you think you are?
Yeah, it's hard not to just be like, the Gryffindor? I mean, Night Court? Uh,
Yeah, I
it's
know
like,
which ones I absolutely would not be.
you probably wouldn't be Winter because you hate cold, right? Or no, is that
I'm
you?
doing
You
a
said you get cold.
I'm doing I do get cold easily, but I'm doing all right with the cold up here. It's actually snowing right now, and I kind of think it's kind of cool. I'm not mad at the cold and I'm not mad at the snow. I'm mad at the ice because I drive and I
Oh,
don't
yes, that's scary.
know. Yeah, I mean, like I haven't encountered anything yet, but it's just nerve-wracking to be like, "Oh, I could get into the car," and then like the car just not car.
Yeah. Um,
Because of physics, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
my first year out of high school, I moved to Tahoe. So that was like, I was like, what, driving in snow? What is snow? I don't know. I don't know any of this. I don't know what chains are. Like, yeah, I was like a crash course. And we
yeah,
didn't really drive much, but you know, I got a little experience. But yeah, you're getting like a full full version.
yeah. Well, and then I mean, it's been cold, and then all of a sudden it was like, it was kind of a gloomy, it was kind of like a twilight day. It was a hoa hoa day up here.
Oh my god. Cool.
and, and so like it was overcast and it was probably like 35, and then just like boom, snowing. I went in with like 45 minutes and I come out and literally it looks like a fucking winter wonderland out of nowhere. I was like, it's 45 minutes and it's like everything's white outside. And I was like, okay, that was fun.
Wow. That, yeah, it's kind of cool. I kind of love it. I don't really. Okay. I probably would not pick spring because I actually don't like spring.
There's also Under the Mountain. I feel like Under the Mountain should be an option.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think I would choose Under the
Polaris is
Mountain.
pretty sick, but I don't really know if I feel drawn to like particularly night court stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to live in Hewn City, right? Like I definitely don't want to live like
If it's night court, it's Polaris. It has to be, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Okay, maybe like the, what is that? Is it Dawn Court that has
Mhm.
like the big, like, no, Day Court that has a big library and stuff? Like
Oh.
the place where there's like a lot of learning, the scholars, like the place where Lucian gets his eye. I think that is. Now I thought it was Helion's court, but I'm pretty sure the girl who makes the thing in Akawar that is like the Fey Bane antidote, right? She
Yeah,
is like part of that researcher group, and I think she made or had something to do with Lucian's eye because they're like the studying people.
got it. It's Day Court. Yeah, it says the Day Court is home to the most brilliant minds and has the repository of the realm's knowledge.
Wow, it makes me sound like I'm really full of myself, but
No, we're
no, just kidding.
academics. Of course, we're
Yeah,
like, where's the fucking college?
yeah, that's what I would do. I would go there.
Although I would be 100% okay with hanging out in the sexual assault survivor library.
Oh, in night court.
Yes. Give me a library with a bunch of nooks and fucking tea and coffee that just appears. Great,
Hell yeah.
happy.
That's true, that is a sick library. Although I wonder, is that just, like, what all libraries do in Vithyan? Maybe?
Maybe. Well, I didn't it kind of come. Well, Reese was
Oh,
the
yeah,
one who
maybe
was
Reese
like,
is conjuring it, yeah. No, maybe it's the spirit of the house.
maybe that's what I was asking. Is like, is the spirit of the house now alive? Because the library is technically part of the house, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's, like, it's connected to it, maybe? Yeah, no, that is a really sick library. Also, so is, The Tower of Dawn library is really cool too, but that's different series. But
Also, I didn't realize that it's the Helion's day court, right?
I always mix them up. Helon is curse breaker. He has knowledge about how to break curses.
Yeah, but it also includes healing.
Yes.
It's
No.
healing, spell and glamour cleaving, touch telepathy, manipulating air and light. What is how am I reading this? Fucking AI.
Yeah, I never read those Google overviews. I feel like they bring in weird shit. I always actually I do a little protest and I'm like, I'm not gonna look at that. And I go click on the first link.
You're right.
Um, yeah.
No, it says so. This is on like I
They
mean, it's a
must
fandom wiki, but
maybe it was like mentioned in an interview or something.
yeah, air manipulation, light generation, ashing and burning, like sunfire.
Oh.
This is interesting.
Okay.
Helion is Lucian's dad, right?
Yeah, 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 that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, so Lucian who burnt his brother
Did he burn?
with sunfire
Wait, what? What do you mean?
when they were chasing Feyre across the ice or whatever.
Is it white? Is it say it's like white fire?
It says ashing slash burning, possible sunfire.
Oh, I've never heard the term sunfire.
Well, yeah, I want to know what his shape shifting is. You know, it says that all of the High Lords have like a
Mm-hmm.
beast in them that shifts, and I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And again, maybe he's just starborn. That's my little theory.
I'm okay with not living under the mountain. I'm absolutely okay with avoiding summer at all cost. And I think day is going to be way too fucking bright for me. I absolutely despise the hours between 2 and 5. And I feel like day court is those hours because dawn is morning. I find morning to be a magical time, and I think that's why I love where I live right now because it's overcast all day long, and where I was from, where you currently are at, the only time that it's overcast is in the morning. So it just feels like morning all the time here.
That's so funny.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Wow.
I also just get to hide my extra pasty ass from the sun. And day sounds like a sunburn, and it's all beach theme, and I'm not into it. I was just there. I don't need it.
Yeah, I know. I know. I bet you a bunch of people would choose summer because they're like beach, and I'm like, no, there's beaches other places.
I am pasty and curvy. I'm not summer court.
Yeah, it sounds like just a bunch of chafing and sweat and ugh.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like I would like autumn court because I am a basic white bitch and I love a PSL, but
Oh, okay. Caleb actually would choose that one, and so I'd have to go to Autumn Court because
that's fair.
he is like that. He's like his thing,
Oh, Topher
you
and
know.
I would pick absolute different courts. Like we could probably both agree on Valeris.
Okay.
Um, and we might both be able to agree on Dawn, but everything else, he'd be like, "This is dumb." Like I'd be okay with spring, but I feel like I would be a Cassian and just have like seasonal allergies all the time.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going. I don't want to say Valeris. I feel like
it's like the cop out. It's the
yeah,
Gryffindor. You're like, I can't choose that.
yeah. I think I would go Dawn,
Okay.
Un- unless unless Baron dies. Then I might hang out over in autumn. Autumn is a magical place. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and I had my first autumn here, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what
Sick.
autumn looks like, and it's gorgeous and amazing, and it's spooky season. I could live in
Yeah.
spooky season all year long and be a very happy girl.
Yeah, I'm not as much of a fan of like the actual like, spooky, but I love just like the forest. I could just live in the mountains forever,
Yeah.
like mountain, thick pine trees. That is my ideal. I don't know if there's one court that really has that though, because like there's aspects of it in some. I you would think maybe winter, but it's like all
Well, they
snow.
have to walk through forest stuff in through Autumn Court, right? When she escapes after she like
Yeah,
fucks shit up in book 3.
that's true. Yeah, so probably autumn court too, with for stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, we'll just hang out in autumn. And then and Caleb's happy with it and
Hell yeah.
Topher will follow me to the end of the earth. He doesn't care. And he does not like being hot. So
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah.
I don't know if he doesn't like being hot. It's just that he gets hot very easily. So he'd be fine in autumn. Autumn would feel like summer to him.
Yes. Yeah. That's awesome. That's a good question.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to change over time, but I feel like it's going to be way harder when I'm like, where would you like to live in the Throne of Glass world?
Oh my god.
So that'll be a,
The
when we get,
wastes. I'm just kidding.
right, right. I want to be up in the north where we know nothing about it and it's all just Fae.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's so many things that still never got answered
Mm.
fully in Throne of Glass.
Don't, wait, doesn't Dawn also have the Pegasus?
Whichever one Helion's in has those.
That's
So
Day.
I get them. Always. I don't know why I cannot keep it straight. You tell me every time, and every time I forget.
We're just going to have to do some research. It'll be like, okay, this is where everybody's from. Because I
Yeah,
don't even know if I know what the Dawn Lord's name is right now.
the sun. The one that's not Helion
Oh, got it, got it.
is the sun. Yeah, that I do know, and he's the one who hosts the meeting.
Oh, well then, yeah, I'm way into Dawn because his palace sounds amazing.
Yeah, it sounds
Like
awesome.
when Reese is like, "Shit's nice, bro." I'm
Yeah,
here for it.
yeah, it's very
Like
interesting.
Feyre's been in both the Spring Court and in Valeris, and she's like, "Wow, this is a really nice palace." Yeah, nope, I'm happy.
We like fancy shit.
I do. I do. I also am open to like being married to a high lord who has like kind of open to the idea of a high lady.
And who is open to that?
I thought Thesson, or yeah, I thought Thiessen was where he was. I'm just fucking butchering names. Isn't he
He's gay. He's with a man. But
really?
it's definitely he doesn't make his lover his like equal. He just says, "Oh, that's his consort, that's his lover." So it's more traditional. I think
Ah,
it's
got
traditional,
it.
but it is a man.
How did I miss this?
Also, do the High Lord have to give up some of their power to make a High Lady, or can you just make someone a High Lady? Because the High Lords, you have to like be chosen by the universe. So presumably, like, did Reese force the universe to choose Feyre? Did she already have it, or did he just give her some of his power? Like, that's what I don't understand. I'm like, okay, it's I don't know if it's a matter of being for or against High Ladies. I thought it was a matter of like, don't you have to get the magic, and that's what makes you a High whatever.
Maybe he's just like with the captain, the
Hmm.
commander.
Yeah, that's in the High Lords meeting is when you hear that.
Do we know it's a guy? I mean,
Yeah,
captains can also be women, I suppose.
I think it is says somewhere. Let's see.
Well, that's that. Yeah, whatever. I'm here for a gay high lord.
Yeah, I mean the wiki says he's gay,
Yeah,
so
I love that. Like, I didn't catch on to that. So, like, Miss Sarah.
could make
The
it a little more obvious. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's actually just in pronouns. Like it says the captain way behind him, and then you see that
Oh,
it's like
that's right. That's right. That's right. Got
yeah.
it. I feel like I'm both here for it to be a little bit more in my face because, right? But then also it's kind of nice that I was like, oh shit, I didn't even notice that. Like it's not a big deal, except for we know that in this world it is.
Well, or at least in traditional places like where Moore is from. Maybe it's
Yes.
like in Doncorn they don't give shit. In where that's
Yeah.
like the you know.
But I mean, okay, here's my problem. We're going to go on such side quests here. We can cut it all out. But here's my problem with Moore. She is from the Night Court.
Yep,
Okay. And spent how much of her life there?
all of it. I think.
Well,
What are you
okay.
considering night court? Like and night court territory, right?
Under the mountain space in Hewn City. She
Oh,
grew
and
up in Hewn City, right? And then she at like what, 14, I don't know, something stupid, is like not married off, but married off to Eris, right?
or I think it's announced or it's decided that she's gonna wed Eris. Then she
Yes.
goes and sleeps with Cassian, and then her
Yes.
family drops her off at the Autumn Court,
Yes.
and that whole thing happens.
And then she goes to Valeris, right?
Yes, but she's like the emissary, so she has to be in both places.
Let's be conservative, okay? 25. She's spent 25 years in Hewn City.
Mhm.
Then the heiress, blah, 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 Cassian, all the things happen. She's 500 fucking years old.
Mm.
How are you going to be like, the place that I'm from doesn't accept it? Bitch, you're from Valeris. I don't know. When I was reading it, I was just like,
Why are you
really?
hiding
Like,
this?
why?
Oh, I assumed it's all just, like, internalized, shame from having parents who definitely, go against you, or maybe, like, Valaris is more, against that kind of thing in general, so she can't be, like, out in Valaris even though maybe, like, the undercurrents are Valaris seems like the
Hmm,
kinda place that's, like, totally fine with that kinda stuff, but maybe like, that's the impression I get, but maybe it's not, but I always assumed it was actually tied to her, like, feeling rejected from her parents
that's fair. I'm definitely interested to reread these with more of a an eye for more. Um,
more the character. Okay.
yeah, well, and like taking like kind of like looking at it with more of an analytical, like looking at more with more of an analytical lens. Um, but I don't know. There's something about more that just like, eh.
Well, and maybe she's not, and she just said that because Feyre was catching on to her, and she's used it as a thing.
That's what I'm
Um,
saying. I don't think that like
I think her parents are definitely in the
I think more is wildly dishonest.
yeah. Well, there's
I just get wildly dishonest from more, which is incredibly insane as her power is truth, whatever the fuck that means.
that is interesting. Well, it would work for the anti-Moore theory. I'm just kind of
True.
non-confrontational, so I don't want to have to deal with Moore being a mean guy. I'm just kidding. Just about the
Yeah.
betrayal.
But we're here on chapter 4.
True, true, true.
Um, right, so we're all hanging out in Autumn Court. I think that's what we
Yeah.
decided. Or I'll at least visit Autumn Court because I'm gonna be in Dawn. Um, we'll vacation in Valeris, but we don't need to live there.
Yeah.
I feel like Valeris would be lovely as a vacation spot. Like when Dawn Court experiences its winter, I'll be in Valeris. I'm gonna be a snowbird. I'm gonna be a Valeris snowbird.
Yes. No, yeah.
I want to be there for solstice, right? I want to be there for whatever the sky thingy is happening, right? For the starfall, which I believe is winter, maybe. Anywho, whatever. I'll be there for that. That's when I'm on a vacation there. But otherwise, I don't need to live there. It's too small of a city. I grew up in a small town. I don't need everybody up in my business all the time. Certainly not Faye, who has hearing and scent far beyond what is
That's so
normal.
funny. I get the sense that it's actually more expansive than that, but maybe at times it feels like small town vibes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I'll go. I'll have my winter fling, and then I'll go back to Doncourt and do my job, and I'll see him or her later. That's what I'm here for.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Chapter 4.
Let's get into
Yeah,
it.
this our Tam Tam chapter, right?
Oh, I have in the first paragraph actually. The first few moments were a blur of the snarling of gigantic beasts with golden fur, the shrieking of my sisters, the blistering cold cascading into the room, my father's terror-stricken face, and then the beast had to be as large as a horse, and while his body was somewhat feline, his head was distinctly wolfish. I didn't know what to make of the curled elk-like horns that protruded from his head, but lion or hound or elk, there was no doubting the damage his black dagger-like claws and yellow fangs could inflict. So an interesting first characterization. I thought it was kind of interesting. It's almost like it says like body somewhat feline, but the head wolfish. Reminded me of
Mhm.
a creature from mythology, like the head of a this and the body of a like I don't know.
The Chimera.
Well, yeah, or there I think there's a lot of like mythical creatures that are like part this, part that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
I like I mean, the Greek term is chimera, but it's also become a generalized term of like a hodgepodge of different creatures. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
It's also referred to people who have more than one DNA in their system. Or if you've absorbed your twin in utero and then you have like different
Wow.
characteristics.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think it's interesting that she says distinctly wolfish because I mean he's technically just a beast form, but is he a mix of different beasts? You kind of maybe assume I feel like we hear beast and we think like bear or something like a big thing like that.
Hmm.
But is he meant to be a wolf or is he meant to be something else or a mix of things?
Well, right, Throat of Glass, and even in Crescent City, we have like the like shifting where it shifts into like a full
Mhm.
specific animal.
Yes.
If ACOTAR is somehow a blend of whatever Fae already existed there, and some mingling with the possibility of like the type of shifting fae from Throne of Glass. Maybe that's why they're able to have kind of this chimera like animal quality, because like even Rhysand's beast form is not a bat, right? Like he's also kind of chimera-ish. Like, yeah, he's like, he likes fur and I like wings and scales, but he has talons and like I don't know what's happening with Reese. But Tamlin to me just always reminds me of Aelin, and very much reminds me of like Aelin and Rowan, right? Green eyes, the green and gold.
Yeah.
It's all spring. And then for some reason, this like feline wolf thing reminded me of Adian
Ah.
and Lysandra.
Okay, I'm down for Tamlin to be the descendant of Aedion and Lysandra instead of Aelin and Rowan.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because Adian, while I don't think that I don't know what the fuck he shifts into if he
I don't
does
think
at
he
all.
shifts. He's just called the. Oh yeah, he's called the. His
His
dad's a lion. He's the
Yeah,
wolf.
his dad's a full-on mountain lion. And like Lysandra also shifts into her favorite form, it's also feline. She's a mountain leopard, right? That's like her favorite
Hmm.
form. But she also, if I do remember correctly, also can't like does shift into a wolf form from time to time. I'll have to double check that. But I don't know. There's something about this moment with Tamlin, his description, that I was just like, huh. Especially because like the description, like I know that Aelin is also right blonde, turquoise, and gold eyes, but so is Adian.
That's what actually gives me hope is that it says turquoise and not green. It's I'm like it's not. He's not
Yeah.
related. But
No,
maybe
it's
he's yeah.
green.
Maybe he's Aedion and Lysandra's
Hmm.
descendant, and that would also yeah would explain this kind of description. I do think like the wolf is just. I mean, I've got my list of every instance of the mention of a wolf, and I'm like, okay, there's something there's something about wolves here. I mean, we talked last time about like they're like protectors in Crescent City, and there's like this territory between the humans and the Feyland. It's the wolf
Hmm.
territory, so maybe they're sort of symbolically protectors, but they're also, in a traditional fairy tales, they're like aggressive, like evil, right? So maybe
Tricksters,
it's
yeah.
just her way of describing him to be scary. Because
Hmm.
it's like she killed a wolf and this wolf comes to get. I don't know, but I feel like it's tying him to other wolves that we will.
Hmm. I also want to know, I'm interested to see this kind of fill out a bit more because, right, Crescent City, we have full like shifters, I guess, right? We have Fae that shift into one
One thing,
beast
yeah.
form, right? Yeah, Lysandra is like full shifter,
Yeah, she's,
right?
like,
Where she
different.
can like do all the things. And I don't think that we've seen that in a different character. But I'm interested to see why it's High Lords.
Yeah.
And if it's High Lords, does Feyre now have a beast form that's not just her Illyrium form?
Yeah, because that's actually just oh, no, okay, actually, what back it up. Okay, she actually gets her ability to shift, and
From Tamlin.
she says it's from Tamlin. So maybe but okay, it says that all the High Lords have a beast form, but that part of Tamlin's specific powers is maybe that's why he can transform other people. Maybe I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe Reese can't transfer someone else into whatever. But maybe yeah, Tamlin has kind
Yeah.
of like an animal. He can has more command over that. Okay, that's actually a good case for him being related to Lysandra as well. Um,
Yeah.
okay, because
Because he has like shifter, like, yeah, it's said that like his sort of magic is shifting magic, right?
yes, yeah, no, it does say
In a
that.
way that's different than just like, oh, there's a beast inside of all of the High Lords. Like he's able to, yeah.
Control it, or yeah, maybe like everyone else has one form and he can shift into multiple or something. Well, and that's why I'm wondering like is Feyre a high lady in title only? And because she's made and because of the way she's made, she has more power than most people. And so
But she also gets the tattoos on her hands,
but maybe that's a
right?
title thing. Like maybe that's a customs thing. Like, did the power pass to her? I don't know.
True, because she asks for those tattoos, and he's like, "You can't take those back." Like that's, I feel like because tattoos, if we were thinking of tattoos as a bargain, then like she's not necessarily, but like that's her, it's a bargain in the sense of
Mhm, mhm.
contract,
Yeah,
right? So it's a non-binding, like it's a binding contract, the tattoos of the High
yeah.
Lady, right? She can't take that, she can't break that bond, she can't break that contract.
Yeah. And yeah, but that still makes you wonder, like, maybe she doesn't have, yeah, maybe the power didn't go
Yeah.
to her because maybe the power can only go to one person per court. And so she just is extra strong because of the nature of who she is. Or
Yeah.
maybe the High Lords have a power where they can say, hey, I want to dole it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in sort of the science of
Yeah, I
that.
haven't, yeah, it will, especially because it gets so, like, kind of passed over where it's like, "Oh, we knew that Tamlin was gonna be the High Lord because he showed qualities," and, like, the 17 other brothers of. Also, can we just pause for a second? That just made me realize that Lucian is basically Ron Weasley with a shit family.
Yeah. They could put that
Like
like
like, if the Weasleys were all assholes, it would just and greedy little fucks, like, it would, where, like, Fred and George are like, I don't know, Ron looks like he might be a High Lord, let's try to kill him." Like
yeah. But, I mean, he also has a lot of promise.
yeah, because his brothers wouldn't fucking hate him if he didn't show some sign of the ability to have High Lord potential.
Yeah.
But he has High Lord potential, not because of Baron, but we know that anyways. Is he the only son of Helion?
Yes. As far as I know,
Nice.
yeah. That's what makes it so
Hmm.
interesting. So, but, yeah, I think the power only fully goes when the predecessor dies, um, right? Because it's Tamlin and Reese in that scene where they kill each other's family. I think it says, like, they both felt the
Yes.
power go to them, and they realized they both been High Lords at the same moment or some shit like that.
Yeah, and they, like, look at each other and they're like, "Imma go. You we're not we're Imma leave now. Like, we're done with
Yeah.
this, right?"
Can you
Um,
imagine if they had killed each other, like, would the power just go to, like, some random peasant in each territory? Oh, yeah, for
as an embryo, it would go full Twilight and imprint on her great great great
500 years
grandmother's.
later. When are
Right.
we gonna get a Highland? Oh god. Yeah, well, maybe one day we'll get an answer to some of those questions. Okay, do you think there's anything to, like, the fact that I just think it's weird, maybe it's just weird writing, maybe it's just trying to build tension, but you come in and he's, like, screaming, "Murderers!" And then it says, but it was another word that echoed through me, "Fairy." I don't know. Do you think that's interesting at all or no? Is it just, like, meant to be like, "Ooh."
I think it is and it isn't. I think if we're going to try to find this, and, like, I think it's interesting when we're thinking about who the fuck Feyre is and where she's come
Mhm,
from. This is interesting. From the previous chapters where we know that, like, fairy is a possibility. She's killed this giant wolf that she kind of thought might be fairy. Then she meets this mercenary who's like, "Hey, they exist, and the Martax sucks. And look at all my fucking weird scars." Like, if you ran into this crazy ass animal hybrid that can talk, fairy's gonna be screaming in your
mhm,
head.
mhm.
Right? You're not listening to him calling you a murderer. You're like, "Holy shit, there's a fae in my house."
Yeah,
Um, so I think yes and no.
yeah. I was like, I think it's a stretch, but it's still in my head. Yeah, because I have my little crackpot theory. I'm always looking at what is Feyre's instinct, what is her instinct telling her, and so to me, I'm like, oh, it's because she recognizes power because she's somebody from somewhere somehow, and that's why she immediately recognizes it, like, like that. But I feel like that's
Yes,
kind of
but also if, like, across the Canadian border was fairies and we're here stuck in the United States, if this thing busted into my house, I certainly would not think Republican. I would certainly think fairy.
uh,
You know?
like the sun
Right? But
shoeless
yeah, like
Canadians have come to save us.
too much maple. What have you done to yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably nothing, but I just I just noticed it seemed weird because I don't know. I guess I if I wrote it the scene, I would just be like, "Oh my god, that's a fairy," and it wouldn't be like so written out like that. But maybe it's just to build tension.
It is written in a way that feels like,
Like she's seeing a deeper truth.
because it says, well, and like, but another word echoed through me. It wasn't, but I thought another
Yeah.
word,
Yes.
or but what I heard was, or but all I could see
Hmm.
is. No, it echoed through her. So yeah, I think that it could be something more than just that, but I do think that it could
Yeah.
very
Like
well
maybe
be
it just
just
says
like,
echoed through her because that's a nice way to say that. You know, it's just kind
yeah,
of
right?
interesting. You know.
Or because she's trying to say that it's more than just a realization that there's a fairy in your house, but like the terror of the
Yeah.
situation.
That although I will say I do have this other sort of I was really interested as I was doing my initial second read through of like this she has a lot of these like thoughts that come and they feel very disconnected from her because they are on lines by themselves. They're in italics. They do not have any dialogue tags. And this is it's part of why I started thinking, like, is she hearing from, like, a force or,
Mm.
like, a thing, a guardians of sorts that's in her head? Because sometimes it's like, she's, like, in danger, and it's like, "Not like this," or it's like, "Get up," and it reminds me of, like, the Aelin mantra with "Get up," and, Bryce has some mantra that I forgot, but, like, they all kind of have, like, little mantras, and it could just be SJM's, like, a little writing thing that she does. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm like to me, I think it's kind of a cool idea that maybe, like, there's this other force that's like, "Hey," or like fate itself maybe even just being like, "You can't die, you're not allowed to die here, get," like and so there's this maybe
Yeah.
other voice because specifically of the way that doesn't have dialogue tags, so you presume it to be Favor's mind, but it'd be kinda cool to I don't know if it was something else, but we see those
I'm
later
here
in
for
the
it.
Under the Mountain and stuff, but this was like I was like, "Is this the first instance where something is telling her what's up?" But no, that's
It does, like, now that you meant, like, when you put it like that, it does seem kind of right, you do not yield, like, Aylin's mom kind of a thing. And I mean, it would be fun to, like, kind of compile these moments and, like, put them into Feyre's mom's mouth and see if that kind of did a fun little thing, right? But, like, thinking about, and I don't think it's gonna be this straightforward, but it would be kinda cool to think about that, like, theoretically or just for shits and giggles, right? Like, make that the dialogue of what, like, her mother could be saying to her. That could be kind of just fun to,
Yeah. No,
right?
it's a fun theory, it
Because
just
clearly her mom
something.
knows where she's come from, right? Like, she knows if she banged it out with Papa Archeron and actually had Feyre as being all human or whatever. So the idea that the first, like, kind of big one that we get is fairy, that if that's her mom screaming from the other side of wherever the fuck she's at,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. Okay, well,
giving the last of her fucking light to whatever. What is the drop? What does it take?
um, Aylin's mom gives her, like, a drop of her healing water power or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Nope. But now my mind is blown. No, in Crescent City, when they have to give, like, their
Oh,
power and they keep a drop of it, right? But the
First
Asteri
Light?
keep all of the other stuff.
It's
Huh?
called First Light, right?
Yes. The last they the last of their first light, their last light gets taken after death.
It does?
Do you remember this? Where, like, then they die, they go to this paradise place, but they're just being held there to take the rest of their fucking light for power.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why Bryce is so pissed, because she's like, "I'm sorry. They're just gonna cease to exist because you need their light again? Like, you need to take more of their power? You've already taken 90% of our power,
Mhm.
and now when we die, you take the rest of it?"
Mm.
And that's supposed to be the best case scenario because the Reapers didn't come and eat my soul?
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be
Like,
great to reread Crescent City.
it's gonna be so weird. I feel, yeah.
Caleb's halfway through the second one right now.
Does he like it, or does he wanna throw the book
He
against the
likes it
wall?
better than Crescent City 1 because it's less exposition, but he still has
Okay.
moments like last night, he was like, this sex scene doesn't make any sense." It's like, in this weird place, and why are they
The underwater garden?
No, 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 no. It's like the one in the gym, which I think a lot of people like because but, like, he was just like it's just awkwardly written, and we were debating this is what we debate about. We were talking, like,
Not.
the how
You're like, "Would I let you go down on me after I've sweated out at the gym?
yeah.
But if you did and you didn't weren't bothered by it, I would probably also say I love you."
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's when they say, "I love you," that's right. Yeah.
But that's when she does, and then Hunt just like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I love that, like, listeners aren't gonna be able to see any of that, but, yeah, like, he just, like, kinda pops up over her business and is like, "What?" And she's like, "Nothing. Go back to what you were doing." He's like, "Okay, I'll deal with that later, but, like, orgasm first? Okay."
Yeah, they'll throw things off, yeah, but, yeah.
I do feel like I don't know, well, maybe we can critique sex scenes later, but I do feel like Crescent City's sex scenes were like, okay."
I just I don't really remember how I feel about that, I was just like, "Yeah, cool." I mean, I liked, uh, Hunt and Bryce in general, so, like, I don't know. I can't tell if like they were fine or if I got used to the way it was written type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I didn't have a lot of critiques, but I also didn't have anyone to talk about them with. Okay, I talk about it with you, but like,
Yeah, but I
it's
get it,
reading
yeah.
hundreds of pages and like I read those books in like a week or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost a year ago. It's kind of crazy. Uh,
Ew.
yeah,
Sorry, that was yeah.
yeah.
He'll never listen to this, but hello if you are. Okay, let's see here. I
Oh yeah, yeah. I think my next thing was.
am really interested to I was so I don't know, it was I as a person whose favorite Disney movie was Beauty and the Beast
Oh right.
and who understands that animals can talk in all sorts of different media, I found it so jarring that Tamlin talks in his beast form. I don't know why. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it feels like I don't know, the way that it's in all caps a lot makes it seem like he's like has to yell to get through it or something. I don't know. But it's not later, but I
Well, because wolves don't have lips.
don't know. Yeah.
He's just like, because he's a dog.
It's part of the reason why I really hope they don't do a live action because I hate watching
Yeah.
those the lips moving on
I
the
would watch
CGI
this as an
animals.
animated
That's what
as an
that's
animated,
what a lot of
I would absolutely
yeah.
watch it. There is
And then you don't have to
what
have a
is
casting problem.
yeah, that's true too, and you can make them look as absolutely fucking perfect as they
Yeah.
are. There's a animated series that Topher and I just watched that has to deal with, like, Norse mythology, and it was really,
Mm,
really good and also inappropriate, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, well, that's how you do an animated sex scene." Well, so ACOTAR can do it, no
it's
problem.
funny.
Um,
That's
yeah.
all. I feel like the only animated sex scene I've ever seen is like in a video game. And that was a good one too. It's very tasteful.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well,
The
yeah, so
only thing that I highlighted on any of this, page 34, 35 is the color of his eyes.
oh, okay. No, what I noticed, well, on this page, just I think one thing, um, is okay. Nesta's crying. Like I get it. It's like probably the
Yeah.
most threatened she's ever been, but like I don't know. She's always depicted as like, "Fuck you. I don't give a fuck." And also, we know that later she can see through the glamour. And maybe Tamlin's beast form is not a
Mm.
glamour,
No, it's his
but
actual
maybe it's
form.
his actual form. So maybe she just sees him as he is. But like I don't know. Maybe she's just maybe she's just scared. But I just found it interesting that this is maybe one of the few scenes we really see where Nesta is outwardly no, it's internally in like Silver Flame, she is she has fear, but like she doesn't often display it. And I just thought it was interesting.
Okay, this is my, where I'm gonna sound like an idiot. Does sobbing have to be crying?
Yeah. That is a good I mean,
Or can it be that, like, you know when people are having, like, massive panic attacks? And they're not necessarily crying, but they're in that, like, hyperventilating, too many emotions, but I wouldn't call it crying, right?
okay.
That's kinda what I feel with this, where she's just, like, such terror where it's not like she's not crying because she's like, "Oh, they're gonna hurt my sisters." Like she's in full like,
Fight or flight, trauma response.
yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
would sort of believe more because I just don't think that little Tam Tam's beast form is
Yeah.
gonna make Nesta cry. I
Right? Like,
don't
no.
um,
But yeah, I mean, and it does I feel like it rips her facade down really fast and then you but then it doesn't hold up, right? Because there's a number of other places where she encounters fear and that facade is not like so it'd be like, okay, so she's this like hard cold bitch,
mhm.
but the only thing that can break through that wall is when she's scared, that you actually see these emotions, right? Like if something terrifying happens, she can't maintain her bitchdom, right?
But
Because
she does outwardly
she's
a lot of
scared.
the times, right? And it's just because we see her internal, or is she also outwardly expressing fear sometimes?
That's what I'm wondering. Is like I don't recall enough of moments of fear for her to think if that's like the thing that can break down her moments. Because eventually I feel like it gets to a point that the more scared she is, the harder she becomes.
Well, and some of that's like, like in the end scene of Silver Flames, she's like had all this growth, blah blah blah, and so yeah, she's kind of just more like balanced overall.
Yeah. But she goes into the cauldron with,
Yeah.
like throwing up a middle, like pointing at the king and being like, "I'm coming for you," all psycho. And she takes something from the cauldron. I'm sorry, the scariest thing that's going to make you sob. I get Tamlin, scary guy, got it. Like first encounter in fairy as a mortal in your fucking hut with your sister. I get terrifying. But then you're stolen as mortals, you're stolen by
They're like in
fairies.
their nightgowns. Yeah, they had the fairy tale
Yeah,
come true for them.
basically fucking naked, stolen by fairies who you don't know if they're gonna do other sorts of things to you, and then they put you in a fucking cauldron, and you're not gonna sob at that?
Yeah, that makes me wonder.
It just feels weird. It feels weird. It feels like there's a lack of continuity in the moments that we get to see outward projection of emotion with Nesta.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Now, the one thing maybe it's like, maybe she truly thought there was no hope. And so she was like, you know what? If I'm going to die like this, I'm going to be like saying, fuck you. And I'm going to do whatever I can. But like, maybe she sort of had like given up, but like was going to spite everyone to hell in the fact that she was made to give up type of thing. Like, I
Or
don't know. Yeah.
like this moment with Tamlin, there's been no, so far as we know, there's been no connection, like no encounter with fairy of any sort, right? That's on the wall. It's scary. We hate it, but that's there. This is the first time that it's in her
Yeah.
face. And so when she encounters it again, even though it's also, right, being kidnapped and taken to Highburn and doing all the things, maybe it's less shocking because she's like, yeah, they already came for my sister. I'm kind of not surprised right now. Like now it's just surviving.
Yeah.
And
You're
who
pissed.
knows how long this is what I want to know. How long was she with Tamlin as being kidnapped, right? Like what is that timeline? What's that time frame look like?
I think a couple hours.
You think a couple hours? You think they winnowed her ass to Highburn and then said dip?
Well, didn't Ianthe go get her? And Tamlin didn't know?
Uh
Because I was gonna think, like, I feel
maybe?
like Tamlin would just out of niceties maybe just like give them clothes, but they didn't have clothes. So maybe I thought maybe it was right, it was immediate, but maybe Ianthe's just a bitch and didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Hmm. I feel like well, like when we get there, we'll probably be like, "Oh, right, that's how it happened." But yeah, it's a little bit jarbled in my head about who
No,
goes
I
and
think it's not. I think that part's not clear, but I also think they probably wouldn't. It probably was right before because I do not think they would risk Feyre at all knowing that her sisters got taken. So they probably were like,
yeah.
"It's going down. Go get those girls," and then yeah, that's what I
Mhm.
would guess. But yeah, anyway, so the Nesta crying thing, I was just like, let's what about that? And the next thing I wrote down was that the lying thing, this is where we first really but yeah, she's just basically like, oh, he must be fairies can't lie, so he must be telling the truth
Yeah.
type of thing. And I mean I don't really know if I have
It's
anything to say about
weird.
that, but it's
It's well, it's also weird because like first off, this isn't the first series that Moss has written. And so, like, right where I think I said last week, where I was like, oh, well, like, it makes sense that she's like tearing down some of these our world, right? Tropes of fairy, right? That that they're allergic, that they're like iron hurts them, that they can't lie, right? These are like real world mythologies
Yeah.
that maybe she has to break down in order to establish her world. Except for she doesn't have to do that with Throne of Glass. And she had already written Throne of Glass
Hmm.
to its completion, right? Before,
Yeah.
or at least very close to it. And so now I'm wondering, why do they think that they can't lie?
Well, okay, but in Throne of Glass, there is a lot more both proximity and not, and they're like the okay in the last like magic's only been driven out for like 10 years, so presumably Faye lived
Mhm.
in that on their side, like not just in Wendelin, up until that 10 years, and so maybe they had closer proximity, and then but then they also all the like real Faye culture is across the sea in Wendelin, so but maybe that they're just better informed in Throne of Glass. They don't have these weird like little beliefs.
But Throne of Glass also has magical humans.
They're they're human magic, or does that just mean they're
But Dorian's not Fae. Kael's wife is not Fae.
okay now? But are they is it because of the gods with them?
I don't fucking know. But like they're not Fae,
Yeah, that is
right? Like,
interesting.
or are they, right? Like Lysandra, she's not Fae. Lysandra's a shifter. She's not Fae.
Yeah, I mean her dad's a shifter, but yeah, maybe a shifter isn't considered fae. Um, I'm if you hadn't mentioned this, I probably would have assumed that people who had magic or just have some fae in their lineage. That's what I would probably have assumed. Um, and
Sure.
it could just be like different. That doesn't have to necessarily be connected. We just know that like there are connections, so presumably some
Yeah.
things should apply across the board.
But then it's interesting because I feel like in a lot of in my head, right? And in a lot of people's heads who I've heard theorize, Throne of Glass feels like not just because it was published first, but it feels like the oldest. Feels like the past, right? It
Yes.
feels like if people are going to descend from somewhere, it's going to be ACOTAR descended from Throne of
Yes.
Glass.
Mm-hmm.
What if that's not the case?
Mm. Akastar becomes Throne of Glass.
Yeah. Or that they're simultaneous, right? That there's some weird shit. Think about it. In Throne of Glass, she talks about, right? There's Fey lands that they don't know anything about, that the Fey still have all of their powers, and that they come in at the very fucking last minute to help save the day and shove Maeve into a fucking portal hole, right?
Hmm.
What if that's Prythian? Sorry, Prythian.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's east, so northeast. Like you're gonna she's gotta convince me that this is different universes because things right now feel too
Connected.
separated by time
Mm.
seems the most logical right now.
Yeah.
Because we haven't made that leap, right? We haven't made that leap, which is fine.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like we might be assuming that Throne of Glass is the oldest, but like Aelin falls right. The end of Aelin's story, right, is the beginning ish of the last ACOTAR book, right? Feyre's pregnant
Yeah.
when Aelin falls.
And maybe she's pregnant with Aylin's ancestor.
But yeah, I don't know. It just I am interested to see how it all comes together.
If
Clearly,
Tamlin has a kid named Bran with firepower, or if Lucian has a kid named Bran, then I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? What?
yeah,
I think that would be insane. Can you imagine the TikTok
yeah. It's
discourse?
just, but here's the thing, because we think about right with Lydia when she said right her son's name is Bran, right? Brennan. Is she actually descended from Aelin, or is it a parallel thing, right? Because if they are right, the Brandon thing happened forever fucking ago, right? And so when did that split happen,
Yeah.
right? That maybe there's a moment where those are happening at the same time.
Mhm. No, and I like that theory because again, I want I want a bunch of characters to meet up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want the fucking Moss Endgame. I
Yeah,
want it.
I never saw
I want all these bitches to go
I want
full.
Aelin to sass Reese.
Wait, you want her to do what now?
Sass him.
Oh, for sure. I want, yeah, oh my goodness, this is, yeah, the possibilities. Dude, the possibilities of Aelin and Manon just looking at Reese and being like,
Yeah. Or
okay.
Manon and Amryn.
Oh, yeah, that could be fun. Especially because Amren's gonna be like her bitchy self, and then Manon is. I feel like Manon's gonna be one of those like, really, like this is what we're doing right now. You, you got time to be this bitch right now, or can we like save the universe?
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god. The dynamics would be so interesting. Um,
Also, opening the door to dragons in Crescent City and dragons in ACOTAR, because currently there are no dragons in those places.
is there dragons somewhere?
Wyverns, wyverns,
Oh,
wyverns.
okay.
Sorry, there's no
No,
dragons.
that's a dragon. I just forgot that it was a dragon.
I mean, it's not a dragon, it's a wyvern. Wyverns are, if you ask astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, are what could actually exist and dragons cannot actually exist because dragons have 4 legs and wings, and wyverns would have to have forfeit their legs to have wings because there is no natural creature that has wings and 4 appendages. Birds have 2 legs and 2 wings. I don't know.
Oh,
Talk to fucking Mr. Tyson. But um
oh,
wyverns
okay.
are, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be yeah.
Game of Thrones dragons, wyverns.
Mhm. I see Feyre riding a wyvern.
I'm annoyed by that though.
Okay, Nesta riding a wyvern.
I see Elaine. Fuck
Okay,
it.
that
Put
would be
Elaine on a
sick.
wyvern. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Give her, throw her a bone.
I know. Actually,
Someone throw.
that would be a stark contrast because that's the next thing I wrote down actually is uh well, one of the next things I wrote down is this weird protecting a lane thing again, which I think we talked about a little bit last time, but it just reads as weird to me. Does it not? Like, why do they
Mm-hmm.
feel this she's the middle sister. She's
Yeah.
is she
Maybe we're being assholes because we're the oldest, but like, yeah. You have the heir and you have a spare. Why do we need Elaine?
No, I just think it's like, okay, like it's why aren't you worrying about both your sisters? Or like,
Yeah.
it seems like you're weirdly only worried about Elaine, and maybe that's just because Nesta is so cutthroat that you're like that bitch will survive. But like, why aren't you worried about your dad? Like, I don't know. It's like
But will Nesta survive? Nesta won't
no,
survive because
maybe
she's not
Feyre
surviving
thinks
now.
so.
If Feyre was not there, Nesta would not. She was like, she would literally sell anything to keep Elaine alive. Well, then why is she not doing that? I mean, I'm not trying to say like go fucking prostitute yourself out because your sister's able to go and kill a fucking wolf, but like, girl, if you're willing to do anything for Elaine, but not until Feyre's gone, like, then you're not willing to do anything for
Yeah,
Elaine.
it's weird. It's weird. Again, if she was the baby of the family, or just even significantly, or yeah, if she was like significantly younger, I'd maybe then it's more like a child relationship as opposed to a sibling relationship, and I can see that.
Yeah.
But it just reads as strange, or it reads that they know something about her instinctually or
Yeah.
directly, and that she needs protection.
It's just a weird the sisters have a weird dynamic, and it feels fictional, right? Where if we're like trying to apply like
Yeah,
real like human psychology to some of these things, like some like that's what people do, right?
yeah,
This one it doesn't work, and so then it feels like if you're gonna move so far past traditional tropes of family
should have a
dynamics,
reason.
there has to be a reason.
It doesn't seem like there's a reason. It seems like a weird, like, maybe
No.
it very at the most, it seems like this is a display of how Feyre is calculating and smart and thinks through various situations at once, and that is
Mhm.
it, as far as I can tell.
Let's assume for a second that Elaine is not a fucking idiot. And like what would these books look like if the perspective was Elaine and she wasn't dumb?
Well, I don't think she is dumb. I think her sisters, yeah,
No, I know, but
but, I know, it'd be so
I think she hides stuff. I think she just keeps shit to herself and doesn't say anything, and it's so much easier for her to play off the, like, "I just like my flowers, and I just don't think I wouldn't even have thought that."
yeah, she seems very vanilla, like, unbelievable. Like, you're like, a real person is, like has a little vice." It's like a bitch sometimes.
I know a lot of stupid people. And, they usually don't have any life experience is often what creates,
Yeah,
naivete, right? Is the lack. That's not stupid, right? Like, to be naive is usually because you haven't experienced certain things and you haven't had a reason to learn those lessons yet,
yeah.
right? It's not stupidity, it's just, whatever. Elaine doesn't have that luxury. Why how is she so naive when she's in this world that is clearly an experience?
Well, I think that goes back to our discussion on, like, the Maslow's hierarchy stuff that we talked about, like, way in the beginning.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
think it's just because she is living in a world that's nice and that she is not facing reality. She's like,
She's living in a fairy tale within a fairy
Feyre is
tale.
creating her
Yeah,
hunting skills. Like, I think that that's the only real, logical
psychological.
psychological way I can
Mhm.
see it, is that she is delusional, and that's why.
Is she delusional because she's a seer? Is she delusional because, like, those powers haven't actually opened up completely, but then she's just got, like, deja vu all the time, and she's just living in a different timeline at all the time, and she's in her own little space because she's getting fucking random little
Yeah.
clip bits of different timelines?
That see, and then that makes sense why they if she acts like that, and if they kinda have an maybe a little window into the fact that she feels, like, lost, because yeah, maybe she is having some seer powers that are presenting, but they're not developed yet. So, that would explain why they feel this weird need to protect her, but we don't get any of that, so it just seems like they weirdly wanna protect her. But I do like that theory, but it would feel almost too retconned, like, "You just made that work."
Yeah.
Just mention
Yeah.
something like, Elaine, I don't know, you just do it in like one sentence, little mention it somewhere in here. Easy, done.
Which, yeah, well, and you could have made her intuitive, right? You can make her naive,
Yeah.
but intuitive, right? That she gets weird, like, or just be like, like Elaine has gut feelings.
Yeah.
It would have been very simple for her. It could, well, and like, it could have been a lot more interesting instead of Nesta grabbing Feyre's arm and being like, "Don't trust the mercenary because they're dangerous and like she'll steal from you and blah blah blah," and whatever the fuck that moment was. What if it was Elaine?
Yeah.
Right? Elaine grabbing her and being like, "I have a like, I don't know, I just got a feeling about her." Like, or I don't like, "This is dangerous," or something other than the fucking bland nonsense that we get from her. And so I don't know if clearly it's a choice. I just don't know if we could still have a fulfilling story if she decided to make these characters three-dimensional from the beginning.
You don't know if it, or you think it'd be more
Like, so,
interesting.
well, and that's what my question is, right? Like, would we love Nesta if we had gotten a three-dimensional Nesta from the beginning? Or if the reason why we're not getting three-dimensional characters from the beginning is because they live in a two-dimensional world, right? Like, the mortal world is 2 dimensions, and Prithian is supposed to be this, like, Wizard of Oz moment
Yeah.
where everything is in, color. And but I don't know, it just feels like such a choice as an author to be like, "Cool, so I'm gonna have these 3 relatively main-ish characters, and I'm going to not develop 2 of them, so that in 6 books, I can develop that one, and then maybe in book 7, I'll develop the other one." Like, I don't know, it just seems like an interesting choice. It's like from a writer's perspective, it just seems like an interesting choice to be like, "Cool, I don't want my readers to know anything about this character until the payoff moment." And I'm like, "Why? Why can't we kind of root for Nesta a little bit or know just a little bit more about her
Yeah.
to understand why she's such a fucking cunt?"
Yeah, I think that's a way smarter choice because it's more realistic.
Although, if she did, then we wouldn't be here talking for an hour about who the fuck these girls are.
That's true, that's true.
Oh, page 38. She is
Oh,
all.
yes. Yeah, I will say, but the page before, I think, like, it you can reading it again, you get the sense that Tamlin's trying to check and make sure she's got hate in her heart before he takes her away. Some of the questions he asked, I was like, "Oh,
I also just think he's trying to think if she's, like, bangable too, not gonna lie.
really?
I get a little bit of a gross vibe from him. Yeah.
Oh."
Here's the thing, there's a moment somewhere, and I can't remember, and maybe it'll come up again, but, like, this is not the first wolf that he has sent over that has been killed, but it's the first wolf that he sent over that's been killed by a girl that he's willing to fuck.
Oh my god.
Because men have killed the wolves,
Yeah.
and old people have killed the wolves, and he said, "Cool, finally, which one of you bangable bitches killed my dude? And do you also hate us?
Yeah.
Or can I make you hate me now so that I can make you fall in love with me later?"
Mhm. Yeah. That's funny. I didn't really get a creep vibe, but it does make sense, and that is weird. I don't know.
I also think so, little insight to, like, whatever, but, like, right, I was in a super stupid, emotionally abusive relationship, and, like, not that I think right, because people who are like that in a relationship, I feel like subconsciously prey on
Mhm.
people,
Yeah.
right? I don't think that they wake up in the morning, they're like, "I'm gonna find someone who's desperate that I can
Yeah.
control." But I think it's part of their personality, right? It's whatever their pathology
Yeah.
is. And this feels like that in a fairy tale sense, right? It feels like this guy who's like, "Oh, yeah, I can make her love me. I can make her do what I want her to." She's she's in a position where she can only go up, right? It's like the like preying on people who are in need. And him being like, "Oh, this girl doesn't know what love is. She's starving. Her sisters suck. Her dad sucks. Clearly she lives in a fucking hovel," right? That's what they keep saying. Easy. This is easy. I'm gonna get this girl to love me. It's gonna be easy peasy, right? I'm gonna throw some food at her, show her a fancy watering hole that we can swim in, swing a giant fey penis at her, and bada boom, the curse is gonna be gone.
Yeah. Which,
Right?
again,
It backfires,
it
but
maybe like this literally, if Feyre didn't do what she did, and sort of, I mean, you could argue that, like, maybe it was only the fact she only got this riddle because she sort of had the balls to go and get it. So maybe, like, it really would have all fallen apart. There would be no hope. There's no way out of it, because it never was gonna work, because that's not really love. It's just like,
no,
know,
and that's what I'm
I
saying,
don't think
like,
she really
yeah,
loved him.
this no.
She says so, but I don't think
I
so.
don't think yeah.
She goes, like, later, she goes, I did love him," and I was like, "I don't think you, I don't know, maybe you did."
Well, it's like the same way that I talk about my ex, right? Like, in the moment, I was 19 when we were together, right? I was in a fucking wildly shitty circumstances and needed to not live where I was living, and I moved in with a boy after 2 months of dating him. And I was, over the fucking moon and infatuated with him. But now that I'm grown, I'm like, "Oh, right, that was an infatuation." And the fact that he, like, quote unquote, rescued me out of whatever fucking hovel I was in. They didn't actually love him.
Yeah.
He didn't actually love me. Like, we were playing house. And then, he ended up doing the same thing he does that Tamlin does to her, where he basically locks her up.
Mhm. Yeah, oh, there's something, I think it's in chapter 5, which probably get there next week, but, she
Yeah.
says something like, will he, like, lock me up?" Like, she's already thinking it, like, so much more obvious when you read it a second or third time. It really
Yeah.
is interesting. Oh, okay, so now we've reached the line that I am fascinated by. Here, I'll sort of intro it. So,
Hold on.
oh, and this is also where she's talking about fairies can't lie. Oh yeah, go ahead.
What page are you on?
38.
Okay, so I have stuff on 36
Oh, okay.
first, real quick. Um, so on 36, I highlighted this moment at the end where it says, not me, because Nesta had always known and hated that she and I were two sides of the same coin and that I could fight my own battles. So it's like earlier it says, the firelight shone upon his exposed fangs, and I wondered how they felt on my throat. Weird, because that's where he ends up biting her. How loudly my sisters would scream before they too died. But I knew with a sudden uncoiling clarity that Nesta would buy Elaine enough time to run. Not my father, whom she resented with her entire heart. Not me, because Nesta had always known and hated that she and I were the two sides of the same coin, that I could fight my own battles. Nesta's not going to protect Feyre because she's like, I don't need to. You can fight your own battles. But she hates that about
Yeah, you would think Nesta would sort of
her.
respect it.
But it makes sense also that like the only person that Nesta loves is the one who can't take care of herself. It doesn't make sense. But in this, like when Feyre is saying it, like, oh, Nesta knows that we're just kind of like the same and I can take care of myself, so she doesn't need to worry about me. So she doesn't. And the only reason why she loves Elaine is because Elaine can't take care of herself. So then it's like, well, then does she actually care for Elaine? Or does she feel a responsibility for her because Elaine's an idiot? Which we know she's not going to be, but,
Yeah.
like, you know?
Yeah, it makes I would love to hear a therapist, like, give their take on this. They're like, "Yes, this is classic projection, and it's blah, blah, blah. It comes from the" there's somebody's got that spiel out there, and I wanna hear it.
Oh, for sure, so do I.
The 2 sides of the same coin is interesting too.
That's what I wrote. I was like, "Why does Nesta hate Feyre?" Is, like, kinda what I said anyways, and then it, like, in the quotes, like, 2 sides of the same coin. I'm like, 2 sides of the same coin often still means, like, there's an opposite within like, I'm, like, trying to figure out, like I know what it means,
Like,
but
they're connected, they're the same, but they are still different in their own ways. It's just kinda like they're equals, essentially, and Elena is lesser.
yeah, so it's like the 2 things are very closely related even though they seem different. Like 2 aspects of the same situation or idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting.
I don't know. It just seems like a interesting turn of phrase to put
Mhm.
here.
No, yeah, I think so too. Especially knowing that like Feyre's gonna get made. Like before Nesta there's a whole book between when Feyre gets made and Nesta gets made.
She's kind of ostracizing Elaine, saying like Nesta doesn't also Nesta kind of hates herself, right?
Yeah, no,
Now
totally.
Nesta has some self-loathing. So if Nesta and Feyre are very similar, right? They both look like their mom. They both can take care of themselves. Like, and I don't know, from if we weren't living in Feyre's brain right now, she'd probably come off as a bitch too. She's kind of
Yeah,
bitchy. So like, yeah, maybe her and Nesta are actually way more similar than what we see because we're living in Feyre's mind right now.
that's true.
And so then it's kind of like Feyre and Nesta twins personality wise. And then there's Elaine. And that's why they treat Elaine the way that she is because they think that she's weak.
You know, it is such a Nesta move to throw a shoe at Reese's head. That is what Nesta would have done.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It probably is just because we see her in her head that and Feyre's a little more
Yeah.
humble. She's more willing to admit it. Nesta's more delusional, like in Silver Flame. She's like can't admit a bunch of stuff to herself, you know?
But in Silver Flame, she can admit a bunch of shit to herself because after she's been through
Yeah,
huge amounts
trauma,
of
yeah.
trauma. We don't get huge amount of trauma
We
Feyre.
do, in the beginning of
But not here. Not when but not when Feyre's in her humble
oh, yeah, yeah,
moment in book
yeah. Yeah,
1.
true. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, okay, we need to keep that in our back pocket too.
Also, I wanna know why, like, Feyre and Nesta so now, right, similarities, not only do they look similar, right?
Mhm.
They look similar, their personalities are similar, 2 sides of the same coin. They're the same human, they're interchangeable. They're not, but, like and then you have Elaine, who is not only personality-wise different, but also looks like dad.
Okay, now I thought Feyre also looked like her dad, no?
Well, she's got her dad's,
Smile?
quote, "soft
Okay,
mouth,"
okay.
right? So but yeah, but, like but the windows to her soul are her mother. But like, right? So I don't know. It's just an interesting
It
dynamic.
is.
Page 38. Here we are. Finally.
Yes. Okay, so Tamlin's like, let me make this clear for you, girl. You can either come live in my home in Prithian, offer your life for the wolves in that way, or you can walk outside right now and be shredded to ribbons. Your choice. Which, pause. The one clear moment where Tamlin gives her a choice, which is not an actual choice. It's a fake choice.
This is the first fake choice because we get more fake choices, and literally I write them down like fake choice, fake choice, fake choice. Like all like, I think chapter 5 and 6 is full of fucking fake
Just
choices.
funny how it just screams anti-Reese right from the
Yeah.
get-go. Um, but then it's my father's hobbling steps sounded before he gripped my shoulder. Please, good sir. Feyre is my youngest. I beseech you to spare her. She is all. But whatever he managed to say died in his throat as the beast roared again. So, maybe he's like choking up, but I don't know. I read into this she is all like, what was he gonna say? She is all I have?
Right?
I have two other daughters in there.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he could okay, without getting into, right, say the simplest of answers would that it's not cryptic. She is all we have.
We
Yeah,
have.
she's the one that's feeding
Okay.
them, right? She's all we have, right? We're going to die without her. And she says that, right? Like, and he says it. You think I would take their only source of food and income away from them and not give them something in return? Like, come on. So, it's very simple. She's all we have, sir.
Yeah.
But then he's saying to spare her. If it was she's all we have, it would say something like, "Please, good sir, Feyre is my youngest. I beseech you to spare us. She's all we have."
Yeah. Yeah, actually. And okay, that's
That's not what.
a sorry, go ahead.
No, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, because to me, I read this and I'm like, so Fair's your youngest, and to me it reads like she is all I have of my lover or something. And I'm like,
Yeah,
well, does that
right?
mean yeah, so I had my mind kind of went wild, like,
She's all that's left of something.
yeah,
She's all I have of something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mind did all those things. Or, if she's not have the same mom, then maybe it's
Yeah. Well, and then even if it is like she's all we have, okay, but you're telling him to take her. So then what is she all? Because it doesn't make any sense to be like, please spare her. She's all we have. Well, you're not going to have her if she dies or if she's taken.
it's like she just wants her to live for herself, which makes sense. It's what a parent should want. But
But she's all what?
she is all she yeah.
If you, she's my youngest. I beseech you to spare her. He knows that him and the girls are going to die no matter what, right? Like if Tamlin does his thing and takes care of it. But in the grand scheme of things, say that Tamlin is not going to give them any money. Okay. Because right now, that's what it looks like. Tamlin comes in, he's going to steal away their only source of feeding themselves. They're going to die whether or not Feyre lives.
Mhm.
This is a self sacrifice moment. It's not, but let's say, okay? Because no matter what, they're fucked. Why is he going to ask for him to spare her life? And I get because he's her dad, but like, I don't know. It seems weird. She's all they have, but they're gonna die anyways.
Well,
Like,
are they gonna
take
die
her,
anyways? Because she's feeding them, and she got all that money for the wolf's pelt, and maybe
but that's what well, okay, but so the wolf pelt will last a little while. Like, they can't live off that
yeah,
forever. So if Tamlin doesn't subsidize their income,
yeah,
right? Then either the choices for them right now are Feyre goes outside and dies in front of us, and then we starve, or Feyre gets to go live in a better place
yes.
forever and we starve.
Oh, okay, okay, sorry. For some reason, I thought you were talking about, like, if this never happened. Okay, I see, yeah, yeah,
Like there's only one outcome that they can see of right now, and that's Feyre's not going to be in this house because she's either dead or she's taken, which means we starve to death.
yeah.
If you're looking at it from just a very selfish point, why would he ask to spare her if it doesn't do anything to change their circumstances other than that's his
Yeah.
child and you don't want anything bad. But then she is all right. Like, I don't know. If someone came into my house and was going to take my child, which granted I wouldn't, anyways, was going to take my child and I had no way to stop it, right? I would say, yeah, spare her and let her live on.
Yeah.
And I'm good with dying. That's
Yeah.
fine. But I wouldn't say spare her. She's all I have left. Because one, you're not going to have her regardless. And it's not all you have. You have 2 other girls.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, maybe it's not she is all I have of my children. Like she's not like I have other kids, so maybe she is something else, and that's what maybe she's like the only one of the for my little theory. Maybe she's the only one, and this is why the mom made the promise to her. Maybe she's the only one who got this magic line that they were sort of holding out hope for, and that's what she's the last line of my whatever. She's my last true heir. She's what I don't know. I mean, that's kind of really far out there, but I sort of thought like she's somehow different than the other sisters for some kind of reason that
Mhm.
maybe only he knows. That was where my mind went a little bit. But this is a crackpot theory.
Yeah, no, no. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was very weird when you pointed it out and then I reread it. I was like, this is a
Yeah,
choice.
yeah.
Like this is interesting. I also
And the page before is when he says, "Do it, go," and then he says this.
there's like no question for the dad of what she
Yeah,
should do. There's not a like, please let her stay with us. Take me instead, right? He doesn't go Beauty and the Beast, right? He doesn't say take me instead, right?
yeah,
He doesn't go that route, which whatever, it's like the opposite, but like he doesn't go Maurice. Um yeah, I don't know. Page 37. Fairies couldn't lie. Blah blah blah. My knees quaked. I couldn't escape this, couldn't outrun this. Okay, fine. Couldn't even try to run since he was blocking the doorway. Okay, so you feel trapped and like this is also how does she just not like I don't know, can you produce the law book, good sir, that says that this is a law? And if it's a law of the treaty, one, can you show me the treaty? Give me a lawyer.
yeah, yeah. No, I think a lot of people would be like, "I wanna know I wanna see this in writing."
Yeah, I'm gonna need to see this contract that we signed 500 years ago that you seem to think that I'm fucking time bound to. Yeah, I want to see the legislature, thank you very much, that says that I have to do this. Um, so she's like, do it outside because she's like, cool, I'm gonna die. The fairy huffed a vicious laugh. She says, right, he comes in screaming murderer at her, clearly wanting retribution. She's like, I killed your friend. You're going to kill me. I don't understand what the problem is here. And he's like, you're willing to die so easily? Motherfucker, you are a big, giant, furry beast who is yelling at me for killing your friend and saying that there's like a life for a life must be paid. What the fuck do you think? Like, why is that funny to him? If I killed someone and someone was like, "Cool, so the cost of killing someone is that is a life."
I think he's just, like, being like, "Ugh, you stupid human, you just lay down and die? Of course you would." Like, I think that's what we're supposed to the vibe, but maybe that's where the laugh comes from.
But what else would like she wouldn't think that he's going to take her to his house and let her just fucking live there. Like that's
Yeah.
wild. Like I would be so suspicious like wait, I'm sorry. Why? Why aren't you just killing me? I killed your friend. You hate me. I hate you. But you're going to let me live happily in your house?
Yeah, although to be fair, I think
I
that would come later. She's like, "Wait, he had all the time to just kill me. Why didn't he just kill?" Well, I guess later she knows that there's a second option, I guess. But
this whole interaction just seems so fucking fishy to me.
yeah, yeah, that's why I was sort of noticing. Like, I was like, "Oh, he's fishing to make sure she's gonna fulfill the little curse," and like checking
See,
for stuff
well,
like
and
that.
like, I feel like, okay, so she asks what's required of the treaty. He says at the top of page 37, a life for a life, any unprovoked attack on a fairy kind by human are to be paid only by a human life in exchange. Granted, right? Life of servitude too, but like, he just said, you killed, the cost is your life.
Yeah,
That's death in my head, right? And then when she's chewing on this moment and then goes, "Oh, oh, fine. Do it outside because I don't want it in the house. Like, don't make my family have to clean up my body. Let's do this outside." And it says the Harry huffed a vicious, or sorry, the fairy huffed a vicious laugh, willing to accept her fate so easily. Granted, like maybe she can argue against it, but like, cool. Like, you're a giant fucking beast in my house, and you just told me that there's this 500-year-old rule that says that if I killed someone unprovoked, then the cost is my life. That's a death sentence. Cool, let's go do this. What am I going to argue with?
Yeah.
I'm going to argue with the feline wolfman about a treaty that clearly he knows more about than I do?
Yeah, and that's why it just seemed like Tamlin not doing a very good job at being like the putting on this show.
And then the reason such a fucking dick move. For having the nerve to request where I slaughter you, I'll let you in on a secret, human. You lying sack of fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
You came over the wall. You said, "Friend, I need you to go die." And then when your friend died, you said, "Sweet. Someone killed him. Let's find out if she's hot." This is so manipulative
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair though,
from the very beginning.
if we go along with it, he at least thinks that he has to do this for all of Prithian. So there's some justification, but if you're not buying fully into all that, that he whatever. But I mean, yeah, I could sort of see it within the confines of the story
You have had 50 years, my dude,
to figure out a better plan.
to try anything other than going back to your court and just saying, "Nah, I'm gonna let everybody else who's doing the work for him. I'm gonna send all of my guards
To
over
die.
to sacrifice themselves,"
Yeah.
which they all do willingly.
That's always crazy that they're like, yeah, okay, I'll go.
Like, then I'm gonna kidnap this human and trick her into falling in love with me, but I'm gonna like also kind of fall in love with her, so I guess it's okay. No, it's not okay. And then you want me to think that he didn't have any other choice?
Yeah.
No, that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
That
You've made everybody else clean up your fuck up.
yeah, that is an interesting way to think about it. Oh my god. Yeah, I
This
just don't
is
understand how this
my
is what you have to do.
Tamlin diatribe right now, but yeah, like this is even before he gets into his nonsense with Feyre in like book 2 and 3 or whatever. I want to also know why the fuck Lucian is so loyal bound to him.
Yes. I'm like, is it just like your
What
friend? Like,
what bargain happened here? What gay calumny night happened here? Because this is a level of loyalty that doesn't make any sense to me other than like, so Lucius's brothers were, or Lucian's brothers were trying to kill him, and Tamlin was like, "Oh, you can come live here and be safe." That's it? I
well,
mean, okay,
maybe
fine,
500
but like,
years of friendship after, I suppose, or however many years.
yeah, I don't know. It just seems a little, I feel like there's more to the story.
Yeah, I would like to know their backstory because actually, I was reading a little bit ahead, and the first thing that we see Lucian do is bow to Tamlin, and
Ew. I didn't.
it's like, okay,
Interesting. Um, sorry. Yes, phone. It's 10
oh,
o'clock.
yeah.
It's my bedtime alarm.
I think we've talked about most things.
Uh,
I think the dialogue trailing off is like super interesting.
I do think that the quickness for which her dad tells her to go is
Yeah.
interesting. Like, part of me as a parent is like, sweet. So I thought that he was going to kill you, and now there's this other option. Yes, go do that. Do whatever it is that's going to save your life. Love you. Bye.
Hmm.
But in this context, it also feels weird.
It does.
Because here's the thing, because the family dynamics isn't traditional father daughter. If the family dynamics was very traditional parent child and this happened, be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. This is a loving parent who's always provided for this child, would do anything for them, and has found a way for them to survive even at the cost of their own
Hmm.
life. Absolutely makes perfect sense as a parent. But this dad, it doesn't make sense for.
Yeah.
because he has done nothing to try to help his daughter survive.
Oh, okay, one other thing about the dad. So, okay, when she's giving him instructions, so god, you don't know enough to just take care of it's crazy. Anyway, she giving him all these instructions of what to do, and it says, "My father nodded, covering his mouth with his hand." And
What page?
oh, it's 40, page 40. And I don't know, I just thought it was very like maybe he's just like crying and that's why he's covering his mouth with his hand. But isn't I feel like there's like psychology stuff that's like when people want to say something but they can't, they cover their mouth.
Because he's already cut himself off of saying something?
And I was like, maybe he has
Yeah.
something that he's supposed to tell her and he didn't get the chance to and he can't do it in front of Tamlin. That's where I get into my real crackpot theory territory. Is like he's supposed to tell her destiny that she's got to do, and he's missing his chance,
Well, yeah,
and
because
I don't
he's
know.
already he I feel like he tries to tell her something,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he
right?
says
Like
Feyre, and then it cuts off again, up at the top of 40.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so the thing he says before that, "I can get gold."
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
sir. Since fucking when? Because we have been starving for 8 motherfucking years. And you're gonna tell him that you can get gold? Like, maybe you're pontificating, maybe you're just, like, trying to do whatever
It's
you
like the
can to
gambler
possibly, like,
him is
save
like, "Oh, I'm gonna this time I'm gonna win."
but that's the thing, he's not a gambler, he's a
Same
merchant.
thing. I'm just kidding. But no,
No, well,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
sure,
it's
but
money is his answer, maybe that, but yeah, what he doesn't why is he thinking he can get gold?
your family has been destitute for 8 years and you haven't tried? Like, it this is the level of death that it takes you to be like, "I can get gold," but starvation isn't it? The fact that your daughter is willing to prostitute herself out for the middle child and the other one is 14 and she's going into the woods and killing fairies, and now you wanna say you can get gold?
Yeah.
Fuck off, Papa Archeron.
To be fair, I didn't really buy it. I thought he was like okay, in my head, if I really played that out, I'd be like, "Yeah, he's just saying that, and maybe thinking, oh, okay, sure,' and then he's gonna go sneak away while he's supposed to go get gold, and then he could get them out of there as, like, a ruse or some shit, like, he's just trying to buy time." That's a very generous reading.
But he's buying time to do what? To get them onto a
Yeah.
ship to sail them away? The thing that he's also gonna need gold for?
Yeah, that is very funny.
I get, like, desperation,
Desperate
and
times.
he's just throwing whatever, but he's already told her to fucking go.
Yeah, that's not yeah, yeah,
"Do it, Feyre. Go live. Go do what you gotta do. Like, peace out, Girl Scout. We'll be
yeah.
fine." And then right, like, "Let me make this clear for you, girl. You can either come live at my home, offer your life in the wolves in that way, or you can walk outside right now and be shredded to ribbons. It's your choice." The father says, "Please spare her. She's all, she's all, she's all. Please, 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 please." Tamlin says, "Silence." And then he says, "I can get you gold." You've already told her to leave. And he's telling you that he's going to save her life and she's going to go live with him. What are you actually asking for?
Yeah. Well, and the most generous reading is just he's just floundering, grabbing at anything, but
But when you're gonna create 3 book series that overlap and come together like a fucking Marvel film, there's
yeah.
choices.
It's definitely a choice. She could have cut half that. And I really hope it's not down to, yeah, my editor wasn't good enough in this section part of the book. I hope it's not that. I hope
Right?
there is actually something to
Yeah, I
it.
didn't right? She's like, "Well, I mean, I didn't think that they were actually gonna overlap with each other. I just thought it would be kinda" yeah, you're like, come on."
Yeah.
Which we also know is maybe not true. I need to look at the
I've not
publication
seen
dates for
any
things, but
interviews with her at all. Initially I was waiting for Caleb to finish all the books so that we could watch interviews together.
I haven't yeah, I've only read a couple like, I've seen little clips of stuff, but, like, that could be something we do, a little watch a little watch party of interviews with
Yeah.
her.
But yeah, I don't know. The covering the mouth thing, it seemed weird to me.
I do love this moment where, so after he says, "I can get gold," the only way he can get money was by begging. Even then, he'd be lucky to get a few coppers. I'd see how pitiless the well-off were in our village, the monsters in our mortal realm were as bad as those across the wall. And I think that's the point that
Maybe, yeah.
like, that's one of the points that she's trying to make, right? This is like the Titanic thing, right? To have it where, like, the lower class are actually the better
Oh,
people,
uh-huh.
right? That's this, right? Where, like, you find out that the mortals are worse than the villains that they've created in the
Mhm,
fairies, right?
mhm. Yeah,
Kind of a
and maybe
moment.
it's just a moment.
Um,
That's all. Well, I hope that's not the only reason he says that is so that she can talk about how bad their life is and emphasize it again because it's
that's true.
silly. It's already been emphasized. And then, yeah, the last thing she says to Nesta is on "Don't marry Thomas. Bruises are harder to conceal than
Yeah,
poverty." That's a weird last thing to say to your sister forever. I guess it makes kind of sense, sort of.
I mean, I don't know. I guess if my sister would, okay, so yeah, maybe because me and my sister are kind of like Nesta and Feyre. Like, we tolerate each other. We love each other out of obligation and not out of choice. Um, it's fine. We wouldn't have like we're not each other's people, and we know it, and it's fine. Um, yeah, if I knew that my sister was moderately interested in a wife beater and she wasn't going to listen to me while I'm here, my last words to her might be like, "Don't marry
Yeah.
him." Like, if nothing else, if you don't listen to me, like, you don't have to like me, you don't even have to remember me, you don't have to give two shits about this moment in my life, that's fine. But don't marry that fuck.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, what else is she gonna say to Nesta? "I'm gonna miss you?"
That's true.
No.
Yeah, if anything, so
Take
it's
care of Elaine take care of Elaine? She already knows she's gonna do
yeah.
that. Take care of dad? Wishful
Maybe it
thinking.
is the most affectionate thing she could have said.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
This is the most loving thing that she could have possibly said to her that was like, "Hey, please don't be a miserable like, don't get hurt."
Mhm. Yeah, and then the goodbye with her dad is also really interesting. It's like maybe the you get a lot of self-hatred is like, "Don't ever come back. You were always too good for us." Which again, the
Mhm.
crackpot part of my brain said, because she is somebody and she's too good, I don't think so. I think it's just maybe
Yeah, it just feels yeah, this feels I
he's just like
I
sad and
don't know.
talking.
Well, and I don't know if it's because we don't know enough
Mhm.
yet, but, like, even with the knowledge of all the series in our head, right? Even with the knowledge that he finds out that his daughters were turned into fae and are fighting this war, and instead of being like, "Fuck that, they're on their own because I hate fairies," he's like, "No, those are my babies. I'm gonna go and help rescue them."
Yeah. I'm gonna go do negotiations.
This still feels
No,
weird.
it does feel weird.
For him to be like, "You were always too good for here, too good for us, too good for everyone." Because she hunted? I mean, I don't wanna be a dick, but, like,
Yeah. Well, because she's the only one who's stepping up when they need to.
why though? Why? Because she's the only one? Because they can get away with it? I just feel like, why is Nesta not trying harder for even for just Elaine?
Yeah. Like I said, I would be embarrassed to be Nesta.
Like, why is the dad not trying even a little bit for his girls?
Yeah.
Why is Elaine not selling fucking flowers on the corner? Come on.
Yeah.
Have a fruit stand. Do
Yeah.
something. You're gonna tell me you can't do anything
Yeah, it's such a weird
except for maybe chop wood sometimes? It just seems so over the top,
yeah.
neglectful, and just what? Nobody's that fucking lazy. Nobody is that complacent in the face of starvation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because starvation is the thing that kicks you into gear. Like it's society, we have people do that like because we're comfortable.
Yeah,
But when you're like,
yeah,
it's I die, that shit gets solved. Um, but
yeah.
it's very
It just
interesting.
feels I don't know. Yeah, it feels fictional, right? It doesn't feel like real people.
Yeah.
That these could not be real
Which is an
people.
interesting choice, and I will say, I felt the same way about Manon when I first read the chapters. She didn't seem real. She seemed way too, like, all just black and white and
Car
flat
yeah,
to me.
caricatures. They're all caricatures.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe that's an interesting choice. I don't know. It feels like just on some level that seems like just kind of bad writing. But I'm gonna always hope that it's not, and hope that there's a reason for it. But
Well, and, so then what's the message behind that, right? Like, don't judge a book by its cover, and you don't know what somebody's going through, or you don't like, everyone looks like they're doing their own shit on the surface until you really know their story. And, sure, fine, and stories matter and personal memory, and,
Yeah.
you've made it really black and white, where it's like, until you know someone's story, until they know their story, they're devoid of depth. It
In
just
later books, they get a little more color, before we get into their actual head, but yeah, yeah. Here it's
But then, well, and it's also interesting to be like, the story we're getting is we're seeing it through Feyre. So Feyre is really building the story, right?
yeah,
And she's painting a picture for us.
true. She could be super unreliable.
And the well, but and that's and right. I'm gonna get a little philosophical, right? Feyre's the Feyre's the narrator essentially of the book, and she's painting a picture of her world for us, but she has three colors.
Hmm. Nice metaphor. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right? It's not until she can see more colors that we see more depth to the world.
Hmm.
Because right now all she has is 3 colors that if they mix together, they can make other things, but they don't know how to fucking mix because they're selfish twats. Right?
Yeah.
Yellow, blue, and or she has red, yellow, and blue, right?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
She she has the primary colors. There's 3. I don't know, I just feel like there's such a metaphor here, right? She's got these 3 primary colors that she could be blending together to be creating a whole mess of fucking
Yeah.
colors, and she doesn't. Same thing with the sisters. The sisters are individually just one
Yeah.
color. They could join forces and do so much more, but they don't.
Yeah, although in it but maybe it is just because 'cause we're from Feyre, it seems very one-sided, like Feyre's trying and they're not. But yeah, maybe
Yeah.
there's other stuff. Yeah, that's it is very interesting though, because you know, especially with the reason that I have this theory now about Feyre and the sisters actually is because of who they become later, which is this like crazy maid power trio that's gonna like
Yeah.
surely there's some shit. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so that's very interesting that they're stuck like this, or they're choosing to be like this.
I don't wanna get into it on this one, but I want to have a conversation about the connection between, I mean, it's a theory, but the connection between the Greek fates and the depictions of these sisters.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
Especially because we know that Sarah, does draw from other, real world mythologies.
Yeah, it's all others too.
Um,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
natural.
yeah. Um, sure is. Um, yeah, so, there's some interesting parallels between the dynamics of the Greek fates and the dynamics of these sisters.
Yeah, plus I kinda have a little I mean, I think this is common, people have heard, like, the mother fate and the cauldron, like,
Mhm.
Nesta's the eddies of the cauldron, Elaine is the fate, and, Feyre's the mother,
Yeah.
which I don't that people
I also think that we can look at this, the Greek fates, and look at them from the perspectives of Feyre, Aelin, and Bryce,
oh,
and
yeah.
see if they also kind of fit into that.
I don't know enough about the Greek you'll have to tell me about it, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into it. It'll be like a next episode.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. This whole conversation with the dad is weird. I feel like he's back and forth of go, leave, save her. It's fine. Go live a better life. There's a better world out there. And she's like, whatever. And then also I'll give you gold to save her. I've already offered to save her, motherfucker. Why do I need your gold? Like, do you want me? I don't know what he was expecting to get out of that, right? And then the she's all, and then also this little spiel he gives her
Don't
at
come
the end.
back,
That's
you were too good for us, yeah.
yeah, and it's not don't come back. It's don't ever come back, and right, italicized, right? Well, and I hadn't expected a heart wrenching goodbye, but I hadn't imagined this
Mhm.
either. So this is not a heart wrenching goodbye.
Yeah.
This is something different. This is him looking her in her eyes and saying, "Don't ever come back."
Yeah.
What?
And he says her name right after it too. And then
Yeah.
says, "Go somewhere new and make a name for yourself." Name, I don't know. That's what I think about.
Ooh, because he doesn't have one.
True. True. The nameless, I
Maybe.
mean, the name thing.
Yeah, the nameless stuff comes up, right? Go somewhere and make a name for yourself.
Mhm. Right, but strangely, that's right after he says her name too. But yeah, yeah.
Because like is her name gonna end up being Feyre Haviliar?
Well,
Feyre Dahan? Danon?
whatever
Whatever.
Reese's last, well, it already is.
And
Whatever it is, it already is that because she's already married. Or
I mean, or it's just, High Lady of the
yeah,
Night Court because they don't actually have last
yeah.
names.
I will say that's interesting. That's the last part.
Well, and like Reese imagery is all already in here, right? Beyond. So beyond, not beyond the beast. There's a comma.
Beyond.
Beyond, the beast was just a shadow.
Yeah.
A life for a life, but what is the life offered as payment also meant losing three others? So what if the life offered as payment also meant losing three others? The thought alone was enough to steal me, anchor me. What?
Yeah. I mean, just maybe makes her calm. You think that would make her more mad?
Well,
Is this her digging her heels in to figure out a way to fuck Tamlin over?
maybe, but like that's the thing is like she's saying like it's not just right a life for a life. So her life for the wolf, I can't remember the wolf's name.
Andros.
Her life, thank you. Her life for
Something
Andros,
like that. Yeah.
whatever. Her life for the wolf,
Mhm.
but really it's not. So if this wasn't what it was and it was just a straight like, she's just going to go and live on this guy's land and it's not going to be a cursed thing. It's not a life for life. It's four lives.
Oh, maybe that's why maybe she's like, "Oh, okay, so if it's a life for life, I'm paying that out with my life, so maybe then because of the magic, they can't let my sisters die for some reason because that would break the magic balance." Maybe that's what
I
she's
don't know. I
still
think I think she's kind of pointing out to like how absolutely fucking
fucked up it is.
like well and like lowly human like mortals are to him,
Mhm.
right? Where like he's not taking into consideration that like you asking me to pay for the life of the wolf that I one did not realize I was doing anything
Mm.
wrong in killing. So in this moment of um it was not manslaughter, good sir, right? In the grand scheme of accidental death. I don't know, maybe it's manslaughter. She meant to kill him, but like it wasn't premeditated. Okay. So the death penalty for manslaughter, it's not a thing, right? You don't get the death penalty for manslaughter. And even if that was, everybody in this family is going to die.
Yeah.
So her entire family has to pay the price for the life of the wolf. If if this treaty was real and it was a real life for life balance, he would not be taking Feyre.
Mm,
He would be taking one of the sisters because she killed because she needed to feed her family. So the sisters are just as culpable as she is.
or, okay, if she's thinking this now, why isn't the first thing she says in, like, they get it going, "Okay,
Like,
actually, this means you're gonna take care of my family, right? Because you're gonna kill 4 people, and you're gonna break your rules if you don't." Like, I'd be saying there's some shit like, "You're supposed to only
yeah.
do one, like, one
Why
thing."
is she not walking outside and begging him to save her family by not taking
Yeah,
her? Sir, I'll do whatever it is that you need to do, but like you need to promise that they're not going to die because you're about to take their only source of
yeah.
life because of some bullshit rule that was 500 years ago that's not really a real thing. It's just cuz Tamlin's Tamlin. But right like how is that? Why are you not negotiating?
She's the daughter of the Prince of Merchants, you'd think she would've picked up some. He's the Prince of Merchants, why isn't he
Now,
negotiating
I
better?
mean I mean she can't read, so
True, true, true. Ugh.
who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems so very strange. I feel like this would play out differently with a different family.
yeah. Oh, no.
This would play out differently in the real world, right? Where fairies don't exist.
Yes. I mean, growing up, I talked my way out of half most of my chores. Like, I just fucking That's the lowest stakes possible, and I was talking my way out. Like, I
My
would've been like,
my 3-year-old made up a story about his teacher throwing toys at him when she's mad because he didn't wanna go to school that day. You're gonna tell me that a 19-year-old isn't gonna start making some shit up?
"Yeah. Yeah, say you got a boyfriend who's gonna come beat his ass."
Right, right? "I can't, sir, I'm about to marry the king of this land, and he's going to come and try to, like, come make fucking something up, or just be honest. Sir, I'm sorry that I killed your friend that I didn't know was your friend, I didn't even know was a fucking being other than an animal, and, like, we can talk about animal cruelty all day long if that's what you wanna do, but that's not what we're here for. The thing is, you're telling me that there's a rule, that you're not gonna prove to that there's a rule, and then you're gonna let the rest of my family starve because you're mad about your friend that you sent over the wall."
Well, she doesn't know that yet, but yeah.
She asks, though, "What was he doing on our side?"
Oh. Yeah.
Why is she not asking that now? Like, what did you expect, sir? He portrayed himself as a predatory animal in the human lands. What do you think humans are going to do to animal? We hunt animal like, it's not rocket science, sir. You
It
hunt. We hunt. What's the problem?
it's funny how many holes you can poke in this.
It's
I
just
wonder if we're
wild to me
making
that this
our
is
like, if anyone ever listens to this, are we making them sad? And they're like, "No, I don't wanna know about all these problems."
or they're gonna be like, "Can you please stop? It's not that serious. It's just
It's
a
just
book." And we're
pay
gonna be like,
attention.
"No, you don't understand." Like, but then again, if there's people who are like, "You're too much," then we're not for them, and
Yeah,
that's
I
that's
mean,
fine. There's gonna
I'll
be people
listen
who
to
are
these
here
in
for the
5 years and
nonsense.
be like, "Dude, that was a good point I made." You know? It's, I don't give a
Yeah, I
shit.
mean, like, at the end of the day, we're doing this
Yeah.
for us, so fuck it.
So we don't stand in the parking garage for 30 minutes after
Yeah, and if
class because
anybody else
we can't
if
stand
yeah,
after class anymore.
let's be honest, if we get one other person who enjoys this, our job is done.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've never told my father of the promise I made to my mother. Weird. Why would you not tell him that? You were 8. And there was no explaining it now, clearly, because, you guys can't even figure out how to negotiate non-normal things. You're not going to start getting into family
Yeah.
drama. Um, so I shrugged off his grip and left. I'm sorry. Let's look at the imagery here. Go. Okay. And then she's like,
Get away.
like, have you ever tried to hug a toddler who doesn't want to be hugged?
Yeah. Or like a
That's
cat, yeah.
this. She's like, "Oh, dad,
Ew.
ew."
You'd think she'd, like, give him a big hug and then leave, you know?
"Yeah, I'm never gonna see you again. I hope you don't die and starve, but, like, oh,
Get off of
please
me.
stop hugging me."
That is so I did
I
not
thought
realize
that's
that.
so fucking weird. I shrugged him off and said, "Ew."
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. I think it's silly that the promise when it would when she talked about it again, I was like, "Nobody cares. I would not care. No human would care about some dumbass promise. Why are you thinking about this in the last
But
quarter?"
what if her and her mom are Fae and it's not a promise, she made a bargain?
Yeah. Well, and that's hopefully what it is, actually, and that would make more sense, but it
Yes.
still seems psychologically like that's what you're thinking about right now? You're not thinking about, like, you're gonna miss or you're gonna worry, like, I don't know, it just seems like a weird moment to bring it up, and it's been beat into her head so many times at this point.
Well, so what happens if you don't uphold a bargain, right? Like,
You
what's the
die
consequences for not
presumably. Yeah,
So maybe this isn't necessarily her thinking about it. Maybe this is bargain magic
that's
being
true.
like pulling
So,
on
yeah, the
her.
magic was just to stay together, but, like, so did Tamlin diffuse that magic? And how until Tamlin knows to take care of her family, does he do that immediately? I think she says some shit like, "They're gonna starve," and
That
he's like, "We'll take care of them." Or does he always do it?
yeah, I think he's already doing it.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's why
Yeah,
she doesn't
because she
feel
was
the
like, "There
pull as much.
maybe." Yeah, because I guess the bargain magic would know that her family's not going to starve, right? They would have to. I don't know if the bargain magic, right? If magic can show, like, understand the intention
Yeah.
of someone, then it should be able to understand the intention of the people around that
Mhm.
someone. right? And like she's not even if this was going to hurt them and not be able to stay with them and whatever else, like you would assume that it's not her this is against her will to
Yeah.
leave. And she is kind of technically still protecting them. Cuz what happens if she's like, "No, fuck that. Fuck you and your treaty."
Yeah.
He kills all of them,
That's true.
right? So like maybe this is somehow her still holding up that I mean, clearly it's holding up the bargain because 'cause they're fine, but,
Or it's not
like,
a real bargain, but yeah.
that true because she doesn't, right? Like, I don't know, do all bargains show up as tattoos?
No, I think it's that says it's specifically a night court thing, actually.
Okay. Yeah, because everyone would be fucking tatted, but, like, yeah, so I'm like, I don't know, I think that this promise to her mom, I think it's something bigger than just, like, some woman on her deathbed telling her very young child to watch out for her older sisters because that makes no fucking
Actually
sense.
never says to provide for them. It just says stay together and look after each other. I just looked it up in the back of the 2 chapters ago. So,
Does it say stay
it
with
just says stay together and look after one another, each other.
but who is she telling to stay together? Because the Suriel tells her to stay with
I
the
know,
High Lord.
trot, yeah. I know, I have thought that too. Stay
Like,
together and look after them. That's what it is. That's presumably the bond. So, she should be breaking that, but maybe this if it's a real magic bargain, then maybe she's fulfilling the look after them by doing this, like, going in their place. That's the only thing.
or the bargain knows that she has to do this in order to stick together, stick together and take care of each other. Because the only way that they survive is to turn to Fae,
That's true, yeah.
right? Like that it is their destiny to be Fae. That's their fate,
Yeah.
right? If there's fated mates, then fate can work in all sorts of
Oh,
ways. Like there's no way you can say it's like just a one,
no,
it's just
there's
with
a
mates. That's
lot of
bullshit.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So if this is their fate to do this, then she is upholding that she has to go with Tamlin in order to stick with her sisters.
yeah. And you know what? Maybe the mother is a seer and she wasn't even talking about, like, this time. Maybe she expected Nest to go fucking hunt, and she was actually just talking about when they become Fae.
Or maybe her mom is riddled with fucking brain cancer and can't tell the difference between Feyre and
Just, like,
Nesta
switch.
because they're two sides of the same coin. Like maybe she's like maybe she thinks she's talking to Nesta.
Yeah.
Um, I let the sound of the snow crunching underfoot drive out my father's words as I followed the beast to the night shrouded woods.
Mhm.
As I followed the beast to Reese, because that's exactly where she's going, right?
Eventually.
Yeah, she can't find Reese without following Tamlin.
Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah. Is there a little stepping stone? I was thinking like because we were talking about snow, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just because like spring is her sort of savior, and so the snow is the opposite of that, and it's just a form of oppression. I guess that's kind of obvious, but um,
Mhm.
definitely like she's about to go to spring, so makes sense that she's in the dregs of winter, snow crunching. It's very unpleasant, kind of.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it needs to have that, like, from a literary perspective, it needs to have that dichotomy, right? It's the reason why, I know we've said this a few times, but like, it's the reason why Wizard of Oz works, right? Because the first part of the movie's in black and white. She goes into Oz and we finally get color,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
This wouldn't be as impactful if he kidnapped her during summer,
Yeah.
right? Where they're fed and it's warm and she's fine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Oh, great. Like, so your house has nicer flowers than my sister's garden." Okay. As opposed to it being like this full on desperate moment, right? The reason why the spring court and Tamlin is the salvation is because he gets her in winter.
Mhm.
Is because how destitute they are in that moment versus if it were a few months later.
Metaphorically and literally, yeah. But I and
Yeah.
I do love the nod to Reese. Also, the Beast in Shadow also seemed like a Reese moment to me. Like a couple paragraphs before.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Night Shrouded Woods is definitely a nice touch on second read through.
I made a note of when it says when the dad gives his weird goodbye.
Hmm.
said you were too good for us, too good for everyone. My question was like, what about her is different than her
No, that's
sisters?
exactly that's what got this is one of those things that really got my theory wheels turning. I was like, "Why are you saying this?"
Yeah.
Like,
Like, would he say, like, granted, Nesta and Elaine would have never fucking killed a wolf,
maybe
but
it is guilt.
well, and yeah, and like if there was some other circumstance where Tamlin was coming for one of the other sisters, would this be the dad's reaction? Would he tell Nesta to go? Would he say, Nesta, go, don't come back? Would he tell Elaine to go and not come back? Or would he beg for his daughters to stay with him? Right? Would he beg him and say, please don't take Elaine? Please don't take Nesta? But instead, he says, spare Feyre, take her. Go. Don't ever
Well,
come
and
back
that's
here.
why I think, like, he has got to know some shit about Faye to be like, "Oh, she's not actually going into danger," and so he's just
Or
like
at least knowing that there's something better on that side of the
yeah,
wall.
yeah, yeah.
Because he tells her that, like, let her, like, right in the chapter before, where he's like, let her believe that there's, a better life. And Feyre's like, there's no such
Yeah.
thing. He has to know that there's a better life on the other side of the wall. Because he was Fey and he got rid of his name in order to save somebody and he right, so
Something
sorry,
like
being
that, yeah.
exhausted. But
He is no, he knows some shit. He knows he's gotta know some shit.
he has to know some shit. How else is he gonna find his way with his 3 ships
Yeah.
to the
No,
Feylands?
he's speaking to his old Fae
Like, I'm
contacts,
just
yeah.
it's like he seems to know too many things
He really does.
to
It's very suspicious.
just be this ignorant, destitute, pointless old man who can't do anything. There's so many
Pathetic
choices.
little ex-Prince of Merchants. Yeah,
Stupid. Yeah.
yeah.
But and then that's interesting to like think like, right, Reese is all about choice. That's like his trope.
Mhm.
And then we're talking about Tamlin having fake choices, right? Being sort of the antithesis of Reese. But there's so many choices to have been made by these characters in different moments, even just in the first 4 chapters, that are so either not chosen or the choices they make are fucking dumb.
Mhm, mhm.
And so it's just interesting to like keep kind of coming back to this like when do they have choice, when do they not have choice, and then what is the choice that they do make because it's usually stupid.
Yeah.
And right, I guess you need stupid choices to push a plot,
Yeah.
right? I don't know, it just feels yeah, okay, so chapter 5 starts with Darkness Beckon Beyond. So that's where we get to talk about next
More
Thursday.
Reese.
I'm super
Yeah.
excited. More Reese, finally.